In the vast theater of existence, where time entwines with space and consciousness weaves its delicate tapestry across the infinite, there emerges a moment, a subtle, almost imperceptible awakening of the spirit. It is as if a veil, woven from the shadows of illusion and the threads of forgotten knowledge, begins to lift gently from the eyes of the soul. This unveiling does not announce itself with thunderous proclamation or blazing light. Rather, it dawns softly like the first tender rays of dawn seeping through the curtains of night, bathing the inner landscape in a glow both familiar and ineffably strange. To say that, when your spirit awakens, the truth will reveal itself, is to speak of a cosmic turning, a silent revolution that alters not only perception, but the very architecture of reality as experienced by the one who stirs from slumber. Imagine for a moment the world as a vast ocean, its surface rippling and shimmering under countless suns. Yet beneath that glimmering expanse lies a deeper, hidden current, a profound undercurrent of truth that shapes the tides of existence. Most wander upon the surface, guided by fleeting reflections, caught in waves of transient thoughts and emotions. The spirit's awakening is akin to diving beneath those restless waves, descending into the liminal depths where light bends differently, and time folds into itself. In this submerged realm, the familiar laws of ordinary life yield to a different logic, one written not in the language of the external senses, but in the silent script of inner knowing. Here, truth is less a fact to be uncovered, and more a presence to be felt, a living force that pulses through the very membrane separating illusion from reality. This journey inward is more than a metaphor. It is the very pulse of existence calling one back home, to the origin from which consciousness first stirred. It is as though the spirit, long dormant in the shadowed crypts of conditioned belief and collective narrative, begins to hum with the tune of cosmic memory. The awakening does not merely reveal isolated facts, but rather unspools a tapestry of interconnectedness, where every thread is imbued with meaning, and every pattern resonates with the primordial song of creation. The truth that emerges is not blunt or static but fluid and multidimensional, shimmering with the colors of paradox, both timeless and immediate, both intimate and universal. In this revelation lies a paradox that has confounded seekers across the ages. The truth is not something to be acquired from outside, as if it were a treasure buried in distant lands, but something that unfolds from within, like a blossom opening to the sun's embrace. When the spirit awakens, the external world itself begins to shift, reflecting the transformation within. Shadows dissipate, illusions lose their grip, and a new clarity arises, not one of cold logic but of luminous insight that transcends the boundaries of ordinary knowing. It is the awakening of the eye that sees beyond the seen, the ear that hears the silent music of the spheres, and the heart that remembers the sacred geometry encoded in the stars. This process, however, is neither sudden nor linear. Awakening is less a single event and more a continuum, a cosmic dance between light and shadow, consciousness and mystery. It is an organic unfolding, a flowering of the soul's petals shaped by both inner resolve and the graceful insistence of the universe itself. Like a seed that waits through the winter's dark beneath the frost-hardened earth, the spirit's awakening emerges in quiet stages, often unnoticed until, at last, the sprout pierces the soil to greet the sky. At times, the journey may be accompanied by disorientation, where the old landmarks of identity dissolve and the world appears as a shifting mirage. Yet within that disorientation lies a sacred invitation, a call to let go of false certainties and step into the vastness of possibility, where truth dwells not as a destination but as an ever-evolving horizon. To glimpse this horizon is to recognize that the truth, when revealed by the awakened spirit, is not a mere abstraction or philosophical ideal. It is a living current that flows through every cell, every breath, and every moment of being. It whispers of hidden statutes underlying the cosmos, the the sacred architecture of reality that has been encoded in symbols, myths, and ancient wisdom traditions across time. The awakening spirit tunes into this deep resonance, becoming attuned to the harmonics of existence itself. This attunement reveals that the cosmos is not an indifferent machine, but a conscious, sentient web of energy and intelligence, where every thought and intention ripples outward, shaping the fabric of reality. Moreover, this awakening engages the timeless paradox between freedom and destiny. As the spirit awakens, it realizes that truth is not an external imposition, but an inner sovereignty, a reclaiming of the self beyond the chains of conditioned limitation. Yet this freedom is inseparable from the recognition that the self is woven into the grander design, a single note in the symphony of the infinite. The truth revealed is that we are neither isolated islands nor mere fragments lost in chaos, but integral parts of a living whole, connected through invisible threads of light and meaning. In this weaving, the awakening spirit discovers a profound responsibility to live not in reaction to the world's surface ripples, but in harmony with its deeper currents. Thus, the phrase, "when your spirit awakens, the truth will reveal itself," invites us into a dimension where the mundane and the mystical coalesce. It suggests that beyond the noise of distraction and the fog of conditioned reality, there lies an inner sanctuary, a realm where the soul's eyes open wide, and the fundamental nature of all things is illuminated. This illumination is not a final endpoint but an ongoing revelation, a cosmic dialogue between the seeker and the infinite. It is a process that calls for courage, surrender, and a willingness to navigate the unknown, trusting that the truth, once revealed, will guide the spirit toward a profound and transformative understanding of itself and the universe it inhabits. In embracing this unfolding, we embark on a pilgrimage not across distant lands, but through the hidden landscapes of consciousness, where ancient wisdom whispers beneath the surfaces of time and space. Here, in the boundless theater of being, the spirit's awakening becomes the key that unlocks the sacred geometry of reality, revealing not only the mysteries that lie beyond the veil, but also the radiant core that glows within us all. It is a journey that transforms not only how we perceive truth, but how we live it, awakening us to the subtle yet profound realization that the cosmos itself is alive with meaning, and we are its conscious architects, co-creators of a reality that is at once vast and intimately ours. To awaken the spirit is to pierce the veil that shrouds the ordinary world, to move beyond the surface reflections that mimic reality but conceal its deeper essence. It is a journey into the architecture of existence itself, where patterns emerge not as random happenstance, but as the carefully woven threads of a cosmic tapestry. These patterns, like the spiral of a galaxy or the unfurling of a fern's frond, speak to an underlying order, a sacred geometry that governs the flux of the universe. Yet, before the spirit awakens, this order remains elusive, masked by the illusions we inherit and the narratives we unconsciously uphold. The truth, then, is not merely a set of facts or dogmas to be acquired. It is a living resonance that vibrates beneath the cacophony of conditioned thought, a frequency that becomes audible only when the inner ear is attuned through awakening. At the heart of this awakening lies a profound recognition that much of what we perceive as reality is filtered through veils shaped by language, culture, and egoic constructs. These veils craft a simulation of existence, mirroring the shadows on the cave wall that Plato described, where light is fractured and refracted, distorting essence into mere appearances. Yet the awakening spirit learns to see beyond these shadows, to discern the light source casting them. In doing so, it comes to understand that the universe is not a collection of separate objects, but a unified field of interrelated energies, a dance of consciousness in which the observer and the observed are inseparable. This dissolves the rigid boundaries of subject and object, ushering in a unity that is ineffable yet deeply felt. Here, The truth reveals itself not as an abstract notion, but as an experiential knowing, a luminous thread that connects the inner world to the vast external cosmos. Embedded within this realization is the recognition of duality's illusory nature. The binary oppositions that structure much of our waking experience, light and dark, good and evil, self and other, are not ultimate realities but relative conditions within a larger whole. Awakening the spirit reveals the paradox that these dualities are complementary forces, echoes of the same cosmic principle expressed in divergent forms. Like two sides of the same coin, they arise and dissolve in perpetual interplay, inviting a perspective that transcends judgment and embraces wholeness. This deeper vantage point reframes the experience of conflict and separation, allowing the awakened spirit to hold contradictions simultaneously, to see struggle as part of a dynamic process of growth rather than static opposition. In this way, truth is not a destination that eradicates mystery, but a horizon that expands as the spirit's capacity to embrace complexity deepens. Integral to the tapestry of awakening is the recognition of time itself as a fluid and multidimensional phenomenon. Our ordinary experience tends to slice reality into linear segments, a past that is fixed, a present that is fleeting, and a future yet to be determined. Yet ancient wisdom traditions and cutting-edge metaphysics alike suggest that time is more akin to a vast ocean, where currents of potentiality, memory, and manifestation intermingle. The awakened spirit navigates this ocean not as a passive traveler but as an active shaper, whose consciousness influences the unfolding of reality. In embracing this temporal fluidity, one perceives that the truth is not confined to a historical moment or a static fact, but emerges through the dynamic interplay of now and then, seen and unseen, cause and effect. This temporal liberation opens the door to recognizing synchronicities, to perceiving meaningful coincidences that guide and affirm the path of awakening. Another pillar beneath the awakening spirit is the recognition of the self as both an intimate mystery and a cosmic force. The deeply seated illusions of separateness dissolve into an understanding that the individual consciousness is but a wave upon the vast ocean of universal awareness. Yet this dissolution does not negate the uniqueness of the wave. Rather, it reveals the profound interdependence of all beings and the creative power inherent in each form. The truth revealed in awakening is thus fundamentally relational. It emerges in the spaces between selves, in the shared breath of existence, in the dance of connection that animates life. This relational truth calls upon the awakened spirit to move beyond isolation and into compassionate engagement, recognizing that healing the self and healing the world are intertwined journeys spiraling toward the same luminous center. Beneath these guiding pillars runs the subtle awareness of illusion itself as a necessary threshold to truth. The spirit's awakening is not a rejection of illusion, but a transmutation of it, like turning lead into gold through the alchemical fires of consciousness. Illusion, in this sense, is the raw material from which understanding is forged. It is the shadow that defines the light, the silence that frames the cosmic song. Awareness of illusion sharpens discernment and nurtures humility, as the awakened spirit comes to grasp the limits of conceptual knowledge and the vastness of what remains beyond knowing. The truth that reveals itself is therefore a living paradox, both profoundly simple and infinitely complex, both immediate and eternally unfolding. It is a mirror held up to the spirit that reflects not just what is, but what can be, a doorway to transformation that calls the seeker to step beyond certainty into trust. In this shared journey between spirit and truth, the eternal dance of emergence and revelation continues, inviting each awakened soul to become a beacon amid the shifting tides. The pillars of universal patterns, the recognition of illusion's shadow, the dissolution of duality, the fluidity of time, and the relational nature of self all conspire to lift the spirit from slumber into an ever-deepening embrace of reality's hidden geometry. Here, the spirit does not merely awaken to facts or doctrines, but experiences truth as a living force, an inner radiance that illuminates the path through life's labyrinthine corridors. And it is in this illumination, this cosmic unveiling, that the spirit finds its true purpose, not as a passive recipient of knowledge, but as a conscious co-creator, weaving the threads of existence into a tapestry ever more radiant and whole. In the vast theater of existence, where the flame of spirit flickers amid the shadows of perception, stories emerge not merely as entertainment, but as sacred vessels, allegories that carry the whispers of truth veiled beneath the surface of words. To grasp the essence of awakening and the unveiling of truth is to journey through these symbolic tapestries, where the soul encounters itself reflected in myth and metaphor, each narrative a cosmic mirror that refracts the light of understanding in myriad hues. Consider the ancient tale of the lotus, that exquisite blossom which rises from the murkiest depths with petals drenched in dawn's first light. The lotus is no mere flower, but a living emblem of the spirit's odyssey, a pilgrimage from the dense waters of ignorance and illusion toward the luminous expanse of awakening. Buried in the mud, blind to the sky, the seed slumbers, unaware of the sun's embrace. Yet, beneath the surface, life stirs and the seed's yearning drives it upward, guided by an inner compass that perceives the call even when the world above remains veiled in shadow. When the lotus finally breaks free, unfolding its radiant petals, it is not only a triumph of survival but a revelation. The truth reveals itself not in the absence of struggle, but because of it. The spirit's awakening is the flowering of consciousness, a testament that light is born through darkness, that clarity emerges not by denial but by embracing the depths where shadows dwell. Echoing this theme is the story of the cave, a motif that has echoed through the corridors of human reflection since antiquity. In Plato's allegory, shadows dance on the cavern wall, and prisoners mistake these ephemeral silhouettes for reality itself. Their chains are the unseen bonds of conditioning, the limitations imposed upon perception, binding the spirit in unquestioning slumber. Yet within the heart of the cave lies the possibility of liberation, for one prisoner breaks free, stumbling into the dazzling glare of the sun. At first, the light blinds. The truth is disorienting, an overwhelming cascade of revelation that shatters old certainties. But as eyes adjust, the world reveals itself in vivid brilliance, colors, forms, life in its full, unfiltered glory. The journey from darkness to light is not simply a shift in vision, but a transformation of being, a metamorphosis where the captive becomes the seer. The truth that reveals itself is not a doctrine or a final answer, but an invitation to step beyond the walls of illusion and awaken to the radiant expanse of consciousness itself. Within the quiet heart of the desert, another parable unfolds. A lone traveler wanders amidst shifting sands, lost in a landscape that seems at once barren and infinite. The desert, with its vast emptiness, is a metaphor for the spiritual wilderness, a realm where all familiar markers dissolve, and the seeker confronts the mirror of their own essence. In this solitude, the traveler's spirit stirs, sensing a presence beyond the parched horizon. Mirage and reality weave together, challenging the discernment between what is and what appears to be. This dance between truth and illusion ignites the vital spark of awakening, the understanding that the external desert is but a reflection of the internal landscape, and the only oasis lies within. Here, the truth is not an object to be grasped, but a living wellspring from which the spirit drinks deeply, quenching a thirst born of separation and ignorance. The desert teaches that awakening is often found in the spaces where emptiness and fullness intertwine, in the trembling edge between absence and being. Turning the gaze toward the celestial, the myth of the phoenix rising from its ashes illuminates the paradoxical nature of transformation inherent in spiritual awakening. The phoenix, consumed by fire and reduced to smoldering cinders, seems to meet annihilation itself. Yet in this fiery crucible, the old self dissolves, releasing the latent potential for renewal. From the ashes, a new bird soars, reborn, radiant, transcendent. This ancient symbol speaks to the truth that the spirit's awakening is invariably entwined with death, the death of falsehoods, attachments, and limited identities, and the rebirth into a consciousness unbound by past constraints. The phoenix's flight is the soul's emancipation, the unveiling of truth as an ever-renewing flame that refuses to be extinguished, no matter how consuming the trials of the mortal journey. In the quiet grove of forgotten wisdom, there is the story of the mirror lake, a still, crystalline surface that reflects the heavens and the earth alike. The lake, undisturbed by wind or movement, becomes a portal, an allegory for the awakened spirit's capacity to perceive reality with clarity and depth. When the lake's surface is ruffled by the wind, images distort, and truth seems fragmented and elusive. But in stillness, the lake reveals the cosmos in intimate detail, inviting the observer to see beyond appearances and recognize the interconnectedness of all things. The mirror lake embodies the truth that awakening is not a violent upheaval, but a gentle settling, a quieting of the mind's turbulence so the spirit may witness the seamless dance of existence. It teaches that the truth revealing itself is the reflection of unity within multiplicity, the serene awareness that beneath the shifting play of forms lies an unchanging essence. We find these archetypal stories woven throughout cultures and epochs, each a star within the constellation of spiritual awakening. They speak to the universal truth that when spirit stirs from its slumber, it encounters a world simultaneously strange and familiar, veiled and unveiled. The lotus, the cave, the desert traveler, the phoenix, and the mirror lake are not mere fables but living metaphors for the inner landscape of transformation, the terrain where the spirit sheds its veils, and the truth emerges like the dawn painting the horizon with strokes of infinite possibility. These symbolic narratives reveal the hidden architecture beneath the experience of awakening, a passage through darkness into light, a surrender to the cycle of death and rebirth, an embrace of emptiness as the cradle of fullness, and a stillness that reflects the cosmos within. They remind us that truth is less a static destination than a dynamic unfolding, an eternal story in which the spirit and the cosmos coalesce in a dance of revelation and becoming. In these allegories, the spirit is both the seeker and the sought, the flame and the mirror, the shadow and the light. Thus, when your spirit awakens, the truth reveals itself not as a distant star to be chased, but as the very dawn that rises within you, the blossoming lotus, the freed prisoner, the desert's oasis, the phoenix's flight, and the lake's serene reflection. It is the living narrative you step into, an eternal journey where every moment is both question and answer, every breath a verse in the cosmic poem of awakening. The truth calls to you in the language of symbols and stories, inviting you to awaken not only to what is but to the beauty and mystery of what can be, unfolding endlessly within the boundless realm of spirit. The moment when the spirit cracks open to the light of awakening, the vast, shimmering truths once cloaked in esoteric symbolism begin to ripple through the fabric of everyday existence. What was once a realm reserved for mystics and sages becomes a living, breathing facet of your ordinary world, infusing even the humblest moments with profound significance. It is as if the cosmic script, previously hidden in celestial ink, is now inscribed upon the parchment of your daily experience, inviting you to read it not with eyes clouded by distraction, but with a consciousness awakened to the sacred choreography beneath the mundane. In the quiet spaces of morning ritual, the simple act of breathing takes on a deeper resonance. Each inhalation is no longer merely oxygen entering the lungs, but a communion with the infinite breath of the universe itself. This awareness transforms the routine into a sacred ceremony, where time dilates and the spirit remembers its place not at the mercy of fleeting hours, but woven into the eternal now. The truth reveals itself in this rhythm, urging us to honor each moment as a portal, an invitation to bridge the realms of the seen and unseen. It beckons the spirit to engage with life not as a separate observer, but as an integral participant in the cosmic symphony, where every breath and movement harmonizes with the unfolding truth within and without. As you navigate the bustling flow of human interaction, the awakening spirit begins to discern the subtle threads that connect all beings. No longer is another's gaze a mere accidental glance, but the meeting point of two worlds, the intersection where shared consciousness whispers of unity beneath the illusion of separation. This newfound clarity softens the rigid boundaries forged by ego and invites empathy to bloom as an innate understanding of the other's inner journey. In the marketplace of daily relationships, the spirit's awakening offers the gift of deeper connection, a recognition that beneath the masks and roles, each soul is a mirror reflecting the same light you seek within yourself. Here, the truth reveals itself not as a doctrine but as a living presence, an active force that reshapes how you relate, extend compassion, and receive love in its myriad forms. Work and purpose, often perceived as mere mechanisms for survival or social positioning, are transformed by this inner alchemy into expressions of the sacred. The awakening spirit recognizes that labor is more than toil. It is a form of creation, a sacred dialogue between intention and manifestation. Each task, no matter how mundane, is imbued with the possibility of alignment with a higher order, a chance to participate consciously in the unfolding of universal will. When the truth reveals itself here, it dissolves the alienation so common in the grind of daily duty and rekindles a sense of sacred craftsmanship. The workshop becomes a temple, the tools an extension of creative spirit, and the effort a dance choreographed by invisible cosmic rhythms. In this light, work ceases to be simply a means to an end and blossoms into an offering, each action a stone laid upon the path of personal and collective evolution. The landscapes of nature, once appreciated for their beauty or utility alone, emerge as living scriptures written in the language of spirit. The trees are no longer silent witnesses, but sacred sentinels offering wisdom in their sway. The rivers not simply flows of water, but conduits of the eternal current that carries the collective consciousness. The awakening spirit sees beyond the surface and recognizes the sacred geometry etched into every leaf, the cosmic pulse beating through seasons and cycles. This relational awareness invites a shift in how you inhabit the world, no longer as a dominator or passive observer, but as a guardian and participant in the sacred dance of life. The truth reveals itself in the harmony of this exchange, calling you to live in reverence for the earth's breath and to honor the unseen forces that sustain all being. In the crucible of challenge and suffering, where the ego often tightens its grip in fear and resistance, the awakened spirit perceives a hidden invitation. The trials become initiations, the shadows the threshold of the next luminous phase. Here, the truth reveals itself as a paradox, that within the deepest descent lies the potential for the highest ascent. Pain, loss, and uncertainty are not random cruelties, but the very elements that dissolve old patterns and free the spirit to rise anew. This transformative alchemy requires surrender and trust, a letting go that births resilience and grace. The once frightening unknown becomes a sacred mystery to embrace, a fertile void where the seeds of wisdom and compassion take root. Thus, the awakening does not promise an escape from difficulty, but offers a pathway through it, a living testament to the power of transformation born from the heart of suffering. As spirit and truth entwine in daily life, the boundaries between inner and outer begin to dissolve. The revelations that once felt remote or mystical pulsate now in the very choices you make, the attitudes you cultivate, and the intentions you set. The awakening becomes a lens that reframes experience, turning routine encounters into opportunities for growth and moments of presence into portals into vastness. Suddenly, decisions are informed not solely by logic or habit, but by an intuitive thread, a whisper of higher knowing echoing through the soul's corridors. This subtle guidance navigates you through complexity, inviting you toward alignment with an unseen order and deeper purpose. Here, truth is not an abstract concept but a felt reality, a living compass that orients you amidst the flux of existence. Moreover, the awakening spirit fosters a profound sense of responsibility, not as a burden, but as the natural consequence of being intertwined with the whole. The recognition that your actions ripple outward into the vast ocean of collective consciousness imbues everyday choices with a sacred weight. Consuming, speaking, creating, loving, each act becomes a statement of reverence or disregard for the web of life. This awareness empowers you to act with intention and integrity, knowing that personal transformation and the healing of the world are inseparable dances of the same eternal flow. The truth reveals itself here as an interconnected tapestry, where the awakening of one thread contributes to the illumination of the entire fabric. In the subtle art of presence, the awakened spirit discovers the alchemy of stillness amid chaos. Life's relentless pace, once a source of overwhelm, now becomes a backdrop against which the quiet inner sanctuary shines its light. This space of stillness is not emptiness but a vibrant field where the truths of the cosmos pulse in silent harmony. It is the sanctuary where the spirit gathers its strength, renews its vision, and remembers its origins. Here, in this sacred pause, the eternal truth unfolds effortlessly, like the slow blooming of a celestial flower beneath the night sky. From this wellspring, clarity flows, and with it, the power to navigate life's complexities with grace and wisdom. Thus, the grand, symbolic insights of awakening are not distant ideals reserved for rare moments of mystical experience, but living energies anchoring themselves within the texture of everyday life. They invite you to walk your path not as a fragmented seeker, chasing elusive truths, but as a whole being, already illuminated by the dawning light within. This integration transforms existence into a sacred journey, where the mundane and the divine coalesce into a seamless dance of becoming. When your spirit awakens, the truth is no longer a distant star but the very ground beneath your feet, the fertile soil from which every step, every breath, and every heartbeat springs forth in radiant presence. In the twilight where thought dissolves into silence, there lies a timeless invitation to awaken deeply and to behold the truth that has always shimmered just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. This awakening is neither a sudden strike of lightning nor a fleeting epiphany. Rather, it is the gradual unfurling of an inner map that charts the contours of existence itself. As the spirit stirs from its slumber, the layers of illusion that once cloaked reality begin to lift, revealing the luminous architecture woven into the very fabric of being. It is here, in this sacred space of revelation, that the whisper of cosmic wisdom gently becomes a clarion call, urging us to move beyond mere understanding and into the realm of living truth. To awaken is to remember the language of the stars, the silent song of the earth, and the divine breath animating each moment. It is to recognize that the self, once thought isolated and fragmented, is in truth a radiant node within an interconnected web of consciousness, stretching across dimensions and epochs. This awakening is the alchemical turning point, where the seeker becomes the seer, where questions transform into clarities, and where the boundary between observer and observed dissolves into a shimmering unity. The truth that reveals itself is not a fixed doctrine or a static destination, but a dynamic unfolding, a dance between inner light and outer shadow, between the mystery of the unknown and the sacred pulse of what is known beyond words. In embracing this profound shift, the soul is called to shed the armor of certainty and to cultivate trust in the unfathomable currents that guide existence. The revelation of truth is less about grasping control and more about surrendering to the greater intelligence flowing through all things. It is an invitation to dwell in paradox, to hold the vastness of silence alongside the richness of sound, and to find peace in the fertile ground of question without immediate answer. Such a posture transforms the mundane into the miraculous, where each breath becomes a sacred rite and every encounter a doorway into expanded awareness. Here, the awakened spirit learns that truth is not something to be conquered or possessed, but a living presence to be embodied and expressed with courage and compassion. This journey toward awakening and revelation is not a path reserved for a chosen few, but a universal call echoing through the corridors of time and space. It beckons us all to step beyond the veil of conditioned thought, to dive into the depths where the eternal spark burns quietly beneath the waves of transient experience. In this immersion, we glimpse the hidden symmetry that governs the cosmos, the same harmony reflected within our own hearts. The truth that awakens is thus a mirror, revealing not just the outer world but the vast, uncharted territories of the self. It invites a radical honesty, a willingness to face the shadows and light within, ultimately leading to a profound reconciliation of all that we are. As the spirit awakens, the illusion of separateness dissolves, and the individual journey transforms into a shared pilgrimage toward wholeness. The truths that emerge ripple outward like concentric circles on a cosmic pond, touching lives, inspiring acts of kindness, and igniting a collective remembrance of the sacred interconnectedness of all things. In this unfolding, each awakened soul becomes a beacon, not because it holds the truth exclusively, but because it reflects the eternal flame that burns in every heart. When this light is recognized and honored, the world itself shifts, reshaping itself in the image of awakened consciousness, where harmony, wisdom, and love are not distant ideals but living realities woven into the everyday. So let the awakening of your spirit be a sacred revolution, quiet yet unyielding, subtle yet profound. Allow it to dissolve the veils of fear and doubt, to soften the hardened walls of separation, and to open the gates of perception wide enough for the mysteries to enter and transform you from within. In this unfolding, the truth no longer waits as an external prize, but reveals itself as the very essence of your being, luminous and unbound. It calls you to stand not as a passive observer of life's unfolding drama, but as a conscious co-creator, responding to the cosmic invitation with an open heart and a steady gaze. In the final weaving of this tapestry, remember that awakening and truth are not destinations, but eternal companions on the journey of becoming. Each moment offers the possibility of deeper insight, greater love, and a fuller embodiment of your unique light. Embrace this unfolding with reverence and courage, knowing that when your spirit awakens, the truth does more than reveal itself. It liberates, heals, and ultimately transforms the very nature of your experience. The dawn breaks not somewhere out there in distant galaxies, but within the silent sanctuary of your own awakened soul, where every breath you take is a testament to the radiant truth that you are, have always been, and will forever be.